geeks and geekettes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gats and kittens, comic book fans the world over. Welcome to a extra episode of Ask Chuck Dixon, a special, very special episode that I'm calling DC Comics Fight Club. You probably already know what this is going to be about. All the time I get approached by people that go, "You seen this? The latest outrage some comic book creator has foisted upon us, or some company has published, some transgression, some flipping of continuity, some insanity, some leftist agenda-driven madness that's been placed upon our beloved characters to warp and waft them and change them forever." And basically besmirch them and drive them into a ditch and create comic books that make people sad, and more importantly, they make comic books that no one wants to buy. And I like, okay, it is what it is. I had my day. My day is over at DC Comics and Marvel. Let the lunatics run the asylum. I saw this coming when I left DC Comics. It quite frankly got worse than I ever thought it would get, but it's bad, and we see it. And we have this whole new crowd of tourists and posers and opportunists showing up to create comics. People that don't necessarily love comics, they're careerists. They're looking at comics as a stepping stone to a better position at Vanity Fair or MTV or Bravo network. And that brings us to the controversy of the day. A comic book writer on Detective Comics included a scene in his comic of Dinah Lance, Black Canary, and Bruce Wayne, also known as Batman, having a boxing match. And I could excuse this story if it was Batman posing as Bruce Wayne, but it's not. Dinah knows Bruce Wayne is Batman. There's no secret identities here. And they have this boxing match. Bruce Wayne, who outweighs Dinah by a good 50 pounds at least, most of that muscle. Even here you can see she's athletic, but not particularly that well developed. She's certainly not as tall as Bruce, and yet this writer writes a story in which she wins a boxing match with Bruce Wayne. A boxing match. Now, if we were to say it's going to be Dinah and Bruce, and it's going to be a full contact martial arts battle, she could last a few rounds. She'd never win, but she might have a chance. But straight up boxing, by Marquis de Queenberry rules, no freaking way. This would be 1-2 punches, and this fight would be over. This would be one of those Mike Tyson fights where everybody spent a fortune for great seats for a fight that lasted 15 seconds. Seriously, look at the difference in reach. Not just height and weight, but reach. How would Dinah even get in close enough? She would walk right into a punch trying to get in close enough with the guy who is Batman. It's freaking Batman. Now, I love Dinah Lance. I wrote a lot of issues of Birds of Prey. Great character, resourceful, tough. She's not up to she's not up to beat almost any male DC Comics character in a boxing match. And I might even throw in Jimmy Olsen. You're looking at a discipline in which all of her disciplines have been taken away. Is she a trained boxer? Did Wildcat teach her to box? Maybe. But he also taught Bruce. So there's no way she's going to beat Bruce Wayne, Batman, in a fight like this. It's crazy. It's lunatic. But, this is the guy who brought us Gay Superboy. So, you know, what this is a guy who like never leaves the house. Oh, what's he know about boxing? Now, back in the day, we did a crossover event in which we would determine who was the best martial artist, because we'd hear this all the time from fans and readers. Who's the best martial artist? Who's the toughest? And we did a crossover event approved by Denny O'Neil, approved at the Bat Summit by the other Bat writers. I wrote the whole thing, but this was approved. This was run by Denny O'Neil, final authority, in my lifetime on Batman. And it was run by Scott Peterson and Darren Vincenzo and Jordan Gorfinkel, because this event crossed over into books, all of them edited. So I had the full Bat team looking over my shoulder on this one, and we had a lot of discussions. I didn't just say, here's what's going to happen. Here's who the best martial artist is, and they all went, yeah, okay. Everybody had a say. So it was decided amongst all of us, people that love comics, were comic book lifers, loved Batman, had a lot of respect for the character, had a lot of respect for the canon. And canon is a word that's going to come up again here. So I did this crossover, and I came out number one. Connor Hawke, the son of Oliver Queen, was the toughest martial artist, but he won by frog's tooth. I mean, he won narrowly in a fight with Lady Shiva. I mean, he barely survived. She barely survived. It was just an epic battle in this crossover. And so we established Connor Hawke number one, Shiva number two. Big surprise, Batman number three. Okay? So no, Batman isn't the greatest martial artist. He's the world's greatest detective. He's certainly the baddest badass in the DC universe, but not the greatest martial artist. I mean, everybody can't be everything, even Batman. So we established it, and that was great. Okay? Now this writer comes along, and he says that, what he says goes. Dinah Lance could beat Batman in a boxing match. And what's his authority for this? Was this decided by the higher ups at DC, people with experience with the character or anything else? No, his authority is, this is a quote, I'm literally the writer of Detective Comics. Well, buddy, I was literally writer of Detective Comics for 85 issues, a record I doubt very much you're going to achieve. And I was editor. I was a writer on Detective Comics under Denny O'Neil, and with the aforementioned associate editors, all of whom experts. And I worked with Graham Nolan, Batman expert. Okay, so I never made a major move in establishing things in the Batman canon without the approval of not only the editorial staff, not only Graham Nolan, but the other writers, Alan Grant and Doug Mensch, who had more experience than me, and were also Batman writers at the time. And all of these things had to be agreed upon. Not just one person saying, this is canon because I wrote it. It's not canon because you wrote it. Okay, some other idiot's going to come after you and change that. Okay, canon is something you earn. Okay, if you change or add, I hate the word change. I don't want to change a character. When I worked on Batman, I didn't make any effort to change him, but I tried to add or enhance, explain things. I was big on logistics, on how does Batman's world work without violating the imponderables, without breaking that suspension of disbelief, keeping the character at its legendary status, but just like, what's the deal with the Batmobile? Are there other ways, what's in the utility belt? Are there other accoutrements to his outfit? Does he update? what kind of computer advances has he made to his database in the Batcave? Things like this. I mean, it doesn't break the character; it enhances the character. It brings the character up to date, and all the rest of it. And but it becomes canon over time as the fans accept it. It's not up to the editor, the artist, the writer, the publisher to establish canon. They can take a shot at it. They can make an addition. They can make a change. But unless it's adopted by you folks, the readers and the fans, it ain't canon. It's not canon because one person says so. If you want to add something to the Batman mythos that lasts, you got to work at it. You got to work hard at it. And you got to have the cooperation of everybody on that Batman team to make it work. Canon isn't something you write. Canon is something you earn. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject. Sorry, I have reached the age where I don't give two F's about anything anymore. And even though you folks are always saying, did you see this? Did you see that? I don't always respond, but I had to respond to this one because it directly relates to stuff that I wrote, and it sort of does away with it. And again, I just didn't write it. It was approved. It was decided that this was the order. And yeah, you can say, we had a pre-crisis, post-crisis, we had a big event, and we washed all that continuity away. But you got to do a little better than one boxing match to prove to me that Dinah Lance is the better fighter than Batman, or that anybody other than Connor Hawke or Shiva are the better fighters than Batman. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. I gird for your responses. I know the hate will flow from certain quarters, but like I said, don't give two F's. See you down the road.